What is happening, everybody? All right, so time for another installment of Dyno Chat. So a few of you guys have asked what was the benefit of the ported intake and larger throttle body on this 392. Now, to give you guys a mod list on this 392, it is on E85, so it's got the injectors to accommodate that. Aside from the intake and throttle body, long tube headers, cold air intake, and that's really about it. This is a car with a stock camshaft. Also need to preface this by saying that this dyno was run in wheel speed sensor mode, not with the tach lead, so horsepower numbers are a little on the low side. Torque numbers might be slightly higher than normal. It's just the way that these dynos will read when you run them in that configuration when your tach lead doesn't work. Anyway, getting back to it. So just taking a look at the graph here, yes, in this particular sense, it was absolutely a benefit to run that larger throttle body with the ported intake. You can see on the top end of the pull, it's carrying power quite a bit better. In fact, it's trying to maintain that horsepower all the way to the end of the pull. And on, initial tip in all the way through the power band, it is making pretty decent amount more torque and horsepower. Now, I want to show you the average numbers first before I get into the max numbers. And clearly that horsepower rating there at the bottom in red, you're talking about an average of 388 horsepower versus 372. That's a 16 horsepower gain as an average, and that's a pretty big difference. So looking at the max numbers of 424 versus 438, it's a pretty significant gain. And really, when you're talking about a cost of somewhere around $1,000 for the intake and for the throttle body itself, it's not too bad. It falls basically in line or a little bit less than in line with the, $100 per horsepower direction that typically modifications will start to take. So at any rate, I wanted to show you guys a direct line of sight comparison between those two intake manifold and throttle body combinations on a car that is fairly well sorted out in terms of aftermarket modifications, tune, and pretty much everything but the kitchen sink except for the camshaft and those accompanying parts. So at any rate, hope that helps you guys out. If you're contemplating going with that ported intake and larger throttle body, I would say it's a pretty good investment if you're looking for performance. It will, according to this car at least, pick up all over the chart and yields for pretty decent throttle response as well. But that's a wrap on this one. Y'all have a great one. Adios.